We're definitely picking up inertia with our header tag here, so let's keep on rolling along and start fixing up some of the styling. When you look at the header in the style, in the simulator, you'll see that there's a little bit too little space right here. We could definitely use a little bit more space between the image and the text to the right-hand side. In addition, it would be really nice if the first piece of text in here, which was the album title, was just a little bit larger at least, or hopefully a little bit bolder as well, just to make it stand out a little bit. So let's start by fixing some of the spacing with this image here. We'll achieve this by adding some styling to the view tag that is wrapping the image. So on this view tag right here, we'll set up some margin on the left and right hand side. That means we're going to have to add another property to our styles object. So we'll go down to our styles object at the bottom, and I'm going to add on another property that I'm going to call thumbnail container style. So the thought process behind this name right here, it is that the container that is containing the thumbnail. So, thumbnail container style. So for this container right here, I also want to kind of center the thumbnail in there, right? I want to make sure that it's nice and centered. To make sure that it's centered, we'll give it the justify content of center and align items of center as well. And then we'll give it some left and right hand spacing by giving it the margin left of 10 and a margin right of 10 as well. Now we can add this thumbnail container style to that view that we have up top. So I'll scroll back up. I'm going to put in some new lines here now that I've got a pretty good number of things I need to destructure out of my styles object. And then I will pull in my thumbnail container style. Then we're going to take that style and just use it on the view tag. So hey view, here you go, use your style. Thumbnail container style. Cool. Now remember, the other thing that I mentioned is I would really like if our header text, so the text tag that has the artist title or the album title, was a little bit larger and maybe bolded as well. Let's start off by just making it larger, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to bold it. So I'm going to scroll back down, and we're going to add another text rule in here. I'm going to put this one right underneath the header content style because this is the one that's holding the text style. I'm going to add a single rule to just add on to that text. So I'm going to call this one, let's do header text style. And I will give it a font size of 18. So now we'll place this text style as well. So we'll scroll back up, destructure it, and then add it to our first text tag. So here's the first text tag. It is the album title, and I'll give it the style of header text style. All right, time for the moment of truth. How are we doing? Let's check it out. Let's refresh the simulator. Okay, now this is starting to look pretty good right here. This is definitely coming along. We've got the nice, slightly larger, not too large, but just slightly larger album title at the top. We've got some spacing to the left and right hand side of the image, and the image is kind of centered vertically and horizontally inside of that view container as well. So this is definitely getting towards where we want to be. So let's now continue and start working on the body of each card. Remember, the body of each card, we want it to have the album artwork. And we've already got access to the album artwork on our album object. So if we go back to our album object, you'll recall that it's available as the image property. So here's image, image, image. Each one has the artwork image. So we want to just add in a new card section, right? Because this is a new section on the card. And inside of that card section, we just want to show this album cover, just the album cover, nothing else. So it shouldn't be too bad. We'll add in first the card section and then an image image tag inside of it. So beneath our existing card section, we'll add in another one. And then we can add in an image tag as well. Again, I'll give it the source property. Define URI, and if you recall, that image link, the actual thing we want to use here, is available as props.album.image, but we are doing some destructuring. So I'm going to reference just image, and then I'll scroll back up to my album destructuring right here. And I'm also going to destructure out of my album. I'm going to destructure out the image property as well. So I've got my title, artist, thumbnail image, and image coming directly out of the album. So I'll go back down. Yep, we're all good to go. Let's refresh the simulator. And okay, yep, it looks like we definitely have the additional section on here, but as you might expect, we did not set a height or a width to the image right here. And so, yep, it didn't actually show up inside the simulator. You know, theoretically it's there, theoretically the image is there, but we did not give it a height or a width, so it gets condensed down to basically 0. This time around, however, when we decide on the dimensions of our image, things start to get a little bit interesting if you think about it. Remember, I said that we have to specify the height and the width of the image. But this time we have an image that we want to stretch all the way from the left-hand side all the way to the right-hand side. And that width right there, that is not something that's very easy for us to hard code, right? It's not easy for us to hard code that value, and here's why. We do know, in theory, you know, maybe we haven't really done this, but in theory we know the width of the device that we're on, right? But then we will also have to add in like the margin over here, the margin over here, and then any internal margin to the card section as well. In other words, it's just really tough to calculate the width of our image. We want it to span the entire width of this card section right here. So to solve this, we're going to use just a little trick with React Native styling of images. Okay, we're going to use a little trick. First, we'll add in a new style to our styles object, and I'm going to call this one just image style. So then here's the trick. I am going to set a fixed height, and I'm going to say that's going to be 300, which is a pretty respectable height. Now here's where it gets interesting. To make sure that the image takes up the full width available to it, all the way from the left-hand side of the card to the right-hand side, I'm going to throw on a property of flex1 and a width specifically of null. So I know you're thinking to yourself, Steven, null is basically like undefined. Why do we even have to define it? Just trust me here. I'm going to provide a width of null. Now we'll apply this image style to that image tag. So I'll go back up to the last image, and I'm going to give it a style of image style. And then we also need to destructure this out of our style object. So I'll scroll up a little bit more, find my image, or excuse me, my styles object right here, and I'll also destructure out the image style. Okay, so let's give this a shot inside of our simulator now. I'll refresh. All right, hot dog. That is exactly what we wanted. Our image is stretching all the way from the left-hand side to the right-hand side as well. This is perfect. So let's scroll down to see the, wait a minute. I'm clicking and dragging here, which is traditionally how you scroll in the simulator, but it appears that there is no scrolling behavior whatsoever. So that is definitely not expected. We have 5 albums on this list though, so I know there are albums further down the list, but I apparently just cannot scroll to them. So we definitely have a little bit of an issue here. Let's continue in the next section and explore this bug a little bit more.